Okay, now that you have your system installed, there's a few things we're going to go over to hopefully make your life easier. These are things that students have had issues with that have added confusion. So hopefully by going over them now, we can lessen the confusion you might run into later. So number one, if you're not root, you're nobody. If you go back to module 1, I believe it is, there's a video I went over. It's talking about how root is the administrative user and everybody else is just a regular user. So keep that in mind. If you are getting permission denied errors, it could be because you need to be doing whatever you are trying to do with administrative access. In the updates video, I said log in as root because I said so. Because we're just going to log in as root in this module so that we have our admin access we need to do the things we need to do. In the next module, we will be going over how your regular user can obtain administrative access. So next module, we'll talk more about this. Number 2, which system am I on, who am I, and where am I? So I connect from any number of places when I'm doing things in this class. This window is my Ubuntu on Linux on Windows, Linux on Windows window. You can tell it has my username @richpc with a tilde. So these are all very important parts of the prompt that can help you figure out where I am. So if you're looking at a video and my prompt has this, then I'm running this locally. So we'll talk about a couple different systems. We'll talk about the local system. That's whatever you're using, whether that's your Windows PC or your Mac. We'll talk about your server. That's the system we just loaded. And then we'll talk about CNT serve. Those are the 3 systems that we will be doing things from. And sometimes I'm doing things on one of the systems and students are trying to do it on the wrong system. Lots of times I have students trying to do things on CNT serve when I'm not doing things on CNT serve. So there are a couple different things we're going to look at here. One, what do my possible local systems look like? Like I said, this is what my Ubuntu on Windows prompt looks like, RBE0000, which is my username @richpc. So that means I'm doing my local system. Sometimes I use my Windows command prompt. So if you see the C:/users type prompt, that will be something I'm running on the local system as well. And finally, sometimes I use my Mac terminal. And if you look at my Mac terminal, Rich's MacBook Pro, Rich. So if I'm at any of those 3 prompts, those are things that you need to be doing on whatever your local system is. Most of the time, I'm running a command to SSH or SCP on the local systems. Periodically, I'll do a different command, specifically when we're setting up SSH keys in the next module. You might see something different. So that takes care of the local system. If I SSH out to my server, and you can do this with a private IP if you're connected to the VPN, which I am not connected to the VPN. Let me demonstrate that. Oh, hey, I'm trying to connect. It's not working. So if you're not connected, this is number 3 I haven't got to yet. We'll get to number 3 in a minute. But right now I'm not connected to the VPN. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to the VPN. All right, so my connection timed out. Now I am connected to the VPN, and now I can log in as my regular user, as my regular user, and that was not my regular user's password. All right, so here's the next place we run into issues. I've logged into my server as my regular user ID. So this first part tells you which user I'm logged in as. This is a system name, which in this case is the same as my user ID, so that might be kind of confusing. And then this last part is what directory I'm in. The tilde means my home directory. So if you look, as I move around the system, that changes to tell you where I am. I don't know if I have permission to go in there. Yeah. So you see the prompt changes to tell you where I am. So if I log in as root, my prompt says root, right? And I'm in root's home directory. If I cd to Etsy, I'm in the Etsy directory. Root also has a pound sign at the end of his or her prompt, and the regular users have a $sign. So that's another thing to alert you that you're operating with administrative privileges. So yeah, so the point of all that was if you're trying to do something in a video, if you're following along with a video and you're trying to do something and it's not working, make sure you're using the same user I am. Make sure you're on the right system, and make sure you're in the right place. If I connect to CNT serve, you'll see that the prompt says CNT serve. So that again, that's the system you're on. This is the user, and this is where you are on the file system. And a tilde means your home directory. So that is which system am I on, who am I, and where am I. Again, if you're having trouble doing something I'm doing in the video, make sure you're on the right system in the right place. Again, many students in the past have been trying to do things on CNT Serve that will not work because you do not have administrative access on CNT Serve. And then finally, number 3, how can we connect? Well, I demonstrated failing to connect when I was not connected to the VPN. I connected to the VPN, and then I was able to connect. So at this point, you should be using SSH to connect to your system. I know we used VNC to load it. From here on out, you should be using SSH to connect, with one exception. If you break something and cannot SSH in, then you can revert back to VNC to try to fix whatever it was that you broke. So in this case, we SSH directly using the private IP while we were connected to the VPN. But for much of what we need to do, we can also connect to CNT Serve and then connect to your server. So I'm going to disconnect to the VPN because for this to work, you do not need to be connected to the VPN. So again, I'm going to demonstrate. This is the private IP. The VPN is off. If you try to connect to the private IP with the VPN off, it will not work. So I'm impatient and I'm not going to wait for that to fail. I hit Control-C. If you are not connected to the VPN, say you're using your mom's PC and you can't install the VPN, you can SSH to CNT Serve. And then once you are on CNT Serve, now you can connect to your private system because CNT Serve exists on that same subnet as your system. Sorry, not on the same subnet. Has access to the same network as your system. So now I have SSH'd to my class system as root from CNT Serve. So to summarize that, if you are on the VPN, you can use the private IP. If you want to connect and you're not on the VPN, you can go to CNT Serve first, and then you can go to your server from there. So Module 7 will go over more, the next module will go over more about admin access. I think I explained this. Your prompt tells you which system you're on, who you are, and where you are, and we reviewed VPN. If you need to use a private IP, if you're not on the VPN, you can SSH to CNT Serve, and then from there, SSH to your system. So those are some things that I hope will help you keep you straight with where you are and who you are and what you're doing and how you can connect.